Two Point Hospital comes as a spiritual successor to Theme Hospital, which also comes as a bit of a surprise to anybody who wasn't really following the news behind Two Point. Interestingly enough, a lot of the original developers from Theme Hospital, when their company got shut down by EA, they founded Two Point Studios, the developer of Two Point Hospital, and a lot of the people who worked on Theme Hospital also worked on Two Point, which is what we're reviewing today. Starting off with graphics, Two Point looks great. There's tons of bright colors that are vibrant and inviting. High quality textures that really overall make these colors show. The art direction was more cartoony of approach than realistic, but it looks really good and the art style matches the theme of the game very well. Animations are great in Two Point. A lot of things are actually kind of over animated. Lots of little details in the smallest places. This is a good thing. Like, the machines that cure people have several layers of animation and details. Or, for example, the people that are afflicted by some things, like 8-bitten, walk essentially in slow motion and in 8-bit, but their animation is still relatively smooth even though they're walking in slow motion. Overall sound is another strong point in Two Point. The soundtrack is exceptional and fits the theme perfectly. This is good because there's really no other ambient stuff like ambient music, so the tracks pretty much play all the time. Sound effects overall are decent quality, nothing really stuck out as low quality, out of place. The sound mixing is also good. No time in my gameplay did sound effects play when they shouldn't have, or slightly too late with like a desync to the visual timing. Every now and then a radio host will pop in and give some hot takes or just some news. There's only 2 of them that I'm aware of, but they're pretty well voiced overall and they add a little bit of character to the game.
And I'm here to tell you that if you think the government is bad, just look at what the corporations are doing. We got no privacy left. They use their products to spy on us and turn us into good little consumers. Bottom line, never buy a jumbo product, no matter how cool it is.
Two Point is a tycoon game. Now get this, it's a tycoon game where you build a hospital. Shocking, I know. Similarly to Theme Hospital, you're in charge of a for-profit hospital. In the case of Two Point, you're in charge of dozens. Your overall goal is to cure ailments and diseases to get those sweet, sweet insurance checks. The campaign really guides you through like a linear path of hospitals, with each one introducing a new ailment, disease, or maybe a game mechanic for you to tackle. Each scenario has different parameters for rewards of 1 to 3 stars. More on this later, we'll come back to that. There's also a sandbox mode that I really didn't try much because I actually really preferred the linear campaign. It even logs your score against your Steam friends. Each disease or ailment will require sometimes specialized machinery or just a simple bed to cure. For example, the ailment lightheadedness, the patient's head turns into a literal light bulb that's always on. And this requires a Deluxe clinic to remove. D-L-U-X. Clever. It basically unscrews the light bulb and then throws it in the trash and then screws a head back onto the person. Each one of these machines can also be upgraded up to twice to improve their overall effectiveness. Now, funnily enough, you can tell that this hospital was built in America because even if the patient dies, the hospital still charges their dead body the same price as if they survived. Staff training allows for the specialization of different employees. When each one is hired, sometimes they will come with a perk or even multiple perks. Sometimes these are mandatory for specific treatment rooms, like psychiatry or the DNA lab, for example. And others, it just improves their effectiveness in the overall treatment or diagnosis. It can actually provide boosts to specific treatment rooms as well. You can actually do a really good job making all the doctors and nurses of your hospital trained specifically to do a specialized task. For example, doctors can be trained in the GP's office where patients go to at the very first point for diagnosis, and later, once their evaluations are complete, they return for a confirmation of diagnosis. Or nurses can be more effective on like the Jab Master treatment machine or just simply working beds in a ward. A lot of machines or diagnosis can be heavily influenced by staff skill. Unfortunately, it seems to be totally random as what they come with when you're hiring them, so it's almost worth hiring untrained student doctors or junior nurses and just make them work in the hospital and let people die until eventually they level up a few times, and then you can specifically give them what you want. With this overall, you can expect a considerably way higher effectiveness in diagnosis and treatment quality if you had them specialized. Now, it turns out, interestingly enough, 2 Point is a puzzle game under the hood. It becomes really difficult to keep the flow and unhindered later on. Tons of patients are turning up to your hospital, and if there's anywhere in your hospital that there's an issue that slows things down, it brings the entire chain to a halt. Each step brings money, but the big payout is curing people to get those sweet insurance checks. So optimizing the chain to get as many people in and out of the hospital for those insurance checks as quickly as possible seems to be the best way to make that money. Back to the campaign challenges, most of them make sense, like cure 500 people, have a heal rating of over 90%, have a hygiene rating of over 90%, it's a hospital. Whereas some of the other ones are really irritating or can take just a ton of time to get it done. For example, one of the hospitals I was doing, the 3-star needed a Research 5 trained doctor. No doctors are ever going to come with that. For one, it requires a max level doctor, and 2, it requires no other traits to be trained except research. If there's a single other trait, or let's say you screw it up and train the guy with the wrong one, start over. You gotta find a whole nother doctor. Really, the only way to do this is to hire somebody with like 2 research trained, because these guys do apply, and just slowly level them up to level 5, and every single time they level up, train them with the next research perk. Well, this literally took me like 45 minutes of just waiting. I was doing nothing. I just left it running while I was in the shower. Now, this was a worst case scenario of this example, but some of these level 3 requirements are just huge time wasters. But overall, a level 3 hospital will require a significant amount of waiting. And by that point, I'm just kind of ready to move on to the next one. Sometimes random events will happen, like celebrities, mayors, or a competitor hospital executive will visit your hospital. If you impress them with a nice hospital, they'll give you a rep boost or some cash. Now, the game engine. The game engine really slows down late game. End of year awards, sometimes the game will just hard freeze for a few seconds when you click on them. This really shouldn't happen. They really shouldn't have used Unity. Overall though, 2 Point Hospital is a lot of fun, and if you're like me, a sucker for a tycoon game, you'll like it. I never played the original theme Hospital, but I could say for sure 2 Point Hospital is fun for what it is. However, I don't think the DLCs are really worth buying. Maybe pick those up on sale, because they don't really add a whole lot. As always, thank you for watching the video. Leave a like if you like the video, or maybe if you have a comment on feedback or a suggestion for a game to play, do leave a comment. This one was actually one that somebody had mentioned in a comment, and that kind of got me to play it.